Hi, I'm GNT and I'm here with Cal van Roon, multiple world champion, and he has a master's degree in sports science. Okay, what are you going to take us through today?
Great, thank you Aaron. Today we're going to be going through the side kick and its use in sparring. I'll be running through a few pointers as to how to make your side kick more effective and more efficient. Okay, let's go. Okay, so let's have a look at the side kick now. I'll invite Harry Glover to come in and we'll give you a demonstration. Okay, alright, Harry. So the side kick is a key technique that you want to have in your sparring arsenal for Taekwondo, and that's whether we're doing ITF Taekwondo, which is what we practice, or whether you practice the Olympic style of Taekwondo. It's an essential tool for controlling the distance and for controlling the range, and for it's basically like a boxer's jab, but for Taekwondo. What's really important is alignment and making sure that you don't telegraph your technique. So a lot of time when you see people side kick, for example, if you're a fan of Bruce Lee, you'll see him sort of set up a big side kick and he'll skip through like this. That side kick is really, really powerful, but it's also very telegraphed. The issue is where he takes a big step, not that I don't like Bruce Lee, I love him, but where you take a big step and you skip in there, during that movement there's a lot of times that you can attack. So if he steps in and attacks, it's very easy for him to attack on that beat. If he does that big skip and I just lift my side kick straight up, I don't know if we're going to have to retake that, but yeah, if he lifts that straight up, then I'm going to intercept him with that. Yeah. So what I'd encourage you to think about doing is, rather than taking a big skip, is I'd encourage you to put your weight a little to your back leg, and then you're going to lift and shift out of that position. So let's just watch Harry as a starting point. So if he comes a little bit closer, he'll just do a single lift and shift, right? He's going to lift his foot, and the way he lifts is actually really important too. When he lifts, he wants to expose his foot sword, so a lot of you will be familiar with that. If you are practicing Taekwondo now, or even karate, it has a similar concept. He'll lift up his foot sword this way, and he'll put it in the line with me. So if I was to do that towards you, back at home, then I would expose my foot sword this way. So I've got a line between me and the opponent. If I come over here, I'm basically aiming a gun off center. That's how I like to look at it. So when I want to lift and shift, I'm going to have my weight on my back foot, I lift this way, then he's going to propel off his back ball of the foot. So the ball of the foot is going to twist with a little pivot, and he's going to extend his hip forward with this way. Okay, so let's have a look. So he's going to kick, and I'm just going to catch it in this position that some people call the Philly shell. You might have heard about that in boxing. Okay, so he comes with that lift and shift. Good, and he goes with that side kick. He's trying to think about pushing his heel out. He's trying to keep his back straight. So if he wanted to follow up with a different type of kick, he could easily do that. So if he was to lift up again and hold that position, good. He could easily change that to like a high turning kick, for example. He could easily come up top here. If, on the other hand, he steps his feet together, if you step your feet together, has it, he's coming into my range without gaining anything from it. His attacking tools, we sometimes call it in Taekwondo, his foot sword, this part, is actually staying at the same distance, and he's not really getting anything out of it. He's coming closer into the range. So once again, has it? He's coming closer into the range, and I can catch him with my own kick during that telegraph. If he lifts and shifts, before I've even gotten my leg up, he's already got me with that side kick. Yeah. So let's practice that a few more times. Okay. I'm going to lift and shift off my lead leg, and I'm just going to show you the correct alignment and posture. You notice that I'm trying not to telegraph, right? I don't try to rock back before I throw the kick. As soon as I'm lifting this, I have a tendency to want to fall this way. So my center of gravity is going to fall. So as I start to fall, I catch up with myself by propelling off my back leg. If we watch Mr. Glover do it, young Harry, he's going to push off his lead leg as he lifts his front leg. Go. Great, excellent. So it's almost like he's taking off the brakes with this one, and he's accelerating with the back one. That's the lift and shift side kick. Thanks, Harry. Awesome. Okay. So one of the key advantages to side kick is how direct it is. Particularly at a longer range, we can get it into a nice straight line, or basically create a frame. It's very effective. So while it feels powerful and it feels strong to wind up, for example, a rear leg turning kick, give me a nice fast rear leg turning kick through here. Has it? Go. So that rear leg turning kick feels very powerful, he enjoys it. Give me a spin, like a reverse turning kick, go. Yeah. So it feels strong, you know what I mean? But let's say he throws that rear leg turning kick, go. and I just intercept him with that lead leg, right? Because once we've got reach, he has to go A, B, C, D, let's say. He has to make a circle, so it's not a direct vector, right? By the time I've done that, I've just gone A to B straight away. As long as I explained before, I don't step up like this. If I'm stepping up this way, I'm stepping into the range where he can throw that tourniquet. By the time I lift my leg, it's too late. I've got to already have my weight on the back leg so I can just lift and shift. Furthermore, it gives me the advantage of being able to choose a different target. So if he begins to get familiar with that, let's say he starts to defend my hand. Come a little bit closer. Yeah, we can do a little bit of bouncing. Okay. Now let's say I throw a side kick at him and I notice that he's looking for a parry. He's looking for this kind of parry, right? Let's say he's gone there. Then as I push forward, I'm going up with my tourniquet. Right? I'm taking advantage of his response. I force him to defend the straight line. It's very similar to the way that a boxer will use their jab to open up other targets. If he spins, as I said before, although it feels powerful to him, he spins just slowly, I can just intercept him with my side kick again. If he comes in with his hands, I can intercept him again. So he really has to address that side kick in many ways before he can deliver or counter what I'm doing. It's not to say it's a be-all to end-all, but it's a really good place to start because it's so efficient. One of the key points you want to watch out for is alignment, and we mentioned that earlier, getting your foot sword into the line, but let me just go into that in a little bit more detail now. So when you lift your lead leg up for the side kick, there's a couple of things you want to consider in terms of alignment. If I have my knee way above my foot, it's easy for my partner to kick over me or my opponent to kick over that leg. If I have my ball of foot over this side, it will come around more like a turning kick or a roundhouse kick, right? Rather than a side kick, so that can be jammed easily. If I have my heel too far this way, it gets very easy for my partner to get around my back. And if I chamber too high, well, my opponent can kick underneath that or even travel underneath. So if I get Harry to come in now, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, so if Harry's on this side, and let's say he kicks with he lifts up and he delivers the side kick, but his foot is a little bit low. So you'll be taught that way, won't you? In terms of fundamental movement, you'll come maybe in a bending stance if you're an ITF Taekwondo practitioner. But when we're talking about sparring, you want to try to get your foot sword from A to B as quickly as possible. So the quicker that you can get your foot sword above your belt in a chamber position like this, the better, the better. So when he chambers up, if he chambers up like this, a bit low, go, yes, and then he delivers the kick from there. Although there's nothing technically wrong with that side kick, what you tend to find is some of the best side kickers in the world try to get their foot sword up above their belt before they kick out. So they basically create a 90-degree angle. So if he flicks his leg up to here first, come, that's it. If he's going this way, if I suddenly charge in, I throw a reverse punch, or if I do my own kick over the top of that, I can still catch him, right? So he wants to try to get his foot above his belt as soon as possible. So if he chambers up, chamber up. Great. Now, if he's got his foot where it is right now, that's pretty difficult for me to contend with because it's between me and him. Now, if he takes his heel towards his butt, and this is going to feel natural to a lot of people, the problem is he's going to kick out, and like I said before, it's going to be a bit like a turning kick. When he comes forward, it's going to come around and sort of brush. It's actually very easy for me to parry. So if he kicks, yeah, just give me a quick one. Use the ball of your foot. Yeah, just lift and shift normally, has it? Come. It's very easy for me to parry like this, yeah? And it makes it easy for me to counter with, for example, my rear leg. So if we're a little bit more dynamic and he comes with that kick, very easy for me to counter here. If, on the other hand, he turns his shoulder in, and if you've got a little bit of like groin tightness, yeah, or hamstring tightness, you'll often find that a person will keep their knee down like that. And there's a certain advantage because you end up hitting with your heel, but it also means that if the person presses hard back at you, you end up turning your back. So if he throws that side kick at me, but he kind of keeps it with the knee down, right? He'll often turn away. So if he kicks that way again, it's easy for me to get behind his back. So there's strengths and weaknesses to throwing it all different types of ways. I mean, that hits with the heel. Flicking with the ball of foot is very fast, but ultimately, as a good base point, I always like to say that just getting center alignment is a good starting point, and you can mix it up from there. As I said before, if he kicks too high and chambers very high up, it becomes quite easy for me to kick under there. Yeah, kicking underneath, or even if your chin is up high, good. And if he comes forward for the actual kick, kick me out here, has it? It's quite easy for me to go underneath and hook kick or back fist. Even for me too, if he kicks up here, for me to spin and counter him that way. So it's really not ideal. If he kicked with it at the belt level, which is kind of the ideal level to start with, then he'd just kick me straight over if I did that. The other reason why kicking at the belt level is ideal is because it comes under the guard. So if you look at the way that a person does a guard, really, even if they bring their hand in very, very tight like this, see that gap under his elbow there? That's where I'm trying to go for. And by flicking my heel up this way, I can shoot under his hand there. If he tries to commit to cover that, that's when I'm exposing his face. It's very similar to the way that a boxer will work the body and then come up top. So we're trying to distract the person. So I don't want to kick in this sort of no man's land region where he's got a lazy guard. Those are some key points in terms of alignment. Okay, so if you're having trouble with traveling with that side kick, one thing to work on is where you distribute your weight on your supporting leg and also the way that you rotate and pivot your back leg. So as you lift and shift to push off, you're not so much pushing off the sole of your foot, you're pushing off the ball of your foot. I like to think of it similar to the way that a person would do a shot put. Like if you've ever watched somebody shot put before, I'm going to do it with my left hand in this case, even though I'm a right-hander, it's just the way that I'm standing. If you've ever seen, they'll load up on their back leg with their toe actually facing away from the direction that they're going to throw the shot. So they're coming like this, and they'll almost push, and they'll drive through like this. And you can see them driving from the ball of their foot. This is the same way that we're going to drive for the side kick. But rather than propel through the arm, we're going to propel through our side kick. So we're actually going to utilize that leg coming up. So if Harry's in the position here, and I can do that for a single sliding side kick, so a single lift and shift, so I come up here, and I just come this way, and you'll notice that my rear leg propels like this. See that little pivot where my knee is sort of turning out like that? This is the strong position. If you move slightly further back, I can pump forward multiple times. So I can do a double pump side kick or a double sliding side kick. Yeah. So at the starting point, it's easy to keep your feet around about shoulder width apart. We call that a parallel ready stance, right? If you practice ITF Taekwondo, we call that a parallel ready stance, narani junbi sogi. So we're bouncing this way, I'm gonna lift this leg up, I'm gonna try again once again to get that correct alignment, leading with my foot sword, keeping my hands in a neutral position so I can follow up with those if I need to. And I'm gonna pivot and propel from the back ball of the foot. So I'll travel twice this time. So I come this way here, right, and let's watch again. I lift up, lift and shift twice, propel off the back of the foot. You notice every time after I hit, I make it a habit to recover into an optimal position. I don't hang out in there and go, hey, what did you think of my side kick? And take a counter shot. Yeah. So that's the kind of fundamental drill that you'd want to work on in terms of propelling that way. A very simple one, which I'm sure you've seen people do around the world, is just traveling up and down your dojo or your training center and just popping kicks out this way. That will give you a bit more of a base to be able to slide forward with multiple kicks. Thank you very much for tuning in today for this video. If you'd like to learn more, please subscribe to our channel, check out the content on there, and let us know what you think by commenting below. Thank you.